Shirts and skins is what they're doing in that way.
I just totally 100% object to this. And if I was the GM or coach,
Me too.
I would never let one of my players walk out on the floor looking like this. I mean, we are a professional NBA league.
Is Isiah Thomas spitting or tripping saying LeBron's shirtless pregame warm-up was unprofessional?
That's the problem with old heads.
Isiah Thomas just went off on LeBron fans. And when he said the GOAT debate has turned into a complete joke, you could feel the entire basketball world stop for a second. Because this wasn't some random analyst chasing clicks. This is Isiah Thomas, a guy who went to war in the toughest era of basketball, calling out not just a player, but an entire mindset around greatness. And whether you agree with him or not, the way he delivered that message, it hit different. Here's the part nobody is talking about. Isiah didn't wake up one day and randomly decide to take shots at LeBron James fans. This has been building for years. The constant comparisons, the endless debates, the way every single game gets turned into evidence for or against LeBron's legacy. And at some point, for guys like Isiah, it starts feeling like analysis and starts feeling like noise.
Isiah Thomas is 100% right. It's just a bad example to use. Because you see, contrary to what some of you trolls out there want to instigate and fabricate and start up.
Now, think about where Isiah comes from. This is a player who had to go through Michael Jordan, Magic Johnson, and Larry Bird just to survive in the league, let alone dominate. Back then, greatness wasn't debated on Twitter every night. It was decided in physical battles, playoff series, and moments where your career could literally be defined by one game. So when he looks at today's debates, where fans argue using clips, stats, and narratives that change every week, to him, it probably feels like the entire conversation has lost its foundation. This is where it gets dangerous, because when a legend says the GOAT debate is a joke, fans don't hear the nuance, they hear disrespect, especially LeBron fans. And let's be real, LeBron has one of the most passionate fan bases in sports history. They've watched him dominate for over 2 decades, break records, carry teams, and redefine longevity. So when someone questions the conversation around him, it immediately feels like an attack. But Isiah's point wasn't just about LeBron, it was about the way we talk about greatness. Because the GOAT debate today isn't just a discussion, it's a cycle. One game, one stat, one highlight, and suddenly the narrative shifts. LeBron drops 40 and people say he's the undisputed GOAT. He has a rough night and suddenly the conversation flips back to Jordan. It's like the debate never actually moves forward.
Professionalism in our NBA league has diminished so much.
Here's the part nobody is talking about. The GOAT debate has become more about winning arguments than understanding greatness. People pick a side and then they defend that side no matter what. Context gets ignored, eras get overlooked, and the conversation becomes less about basketball and more about proving a point. This is where young players usually make a mistake. They start chasing comparisons instead of building their own identity. Every new star gets labeled the next Jordan or the next LeBron, and that pressure can be overwhelming. But the truth is, greatness doesn't come from copying someone else. It comes from creating your own lane. LeBron didn't become LeBron by trying to be Jordan. He became LeBron by doing things nobody had seen before.
LeBron James is usually dressed up. LeBron James carries the mantle and conducts himself with the proper level of decorum and professionalism. Media interviews, post games, availability, stuff like that. LeBron James shows up. Big events representing the NBA brand. It's LeBron James you lean on.
Now, let's talk about LeBron's actual legacy, because this is important. No matter what Isiah says, LeBron's resume is undeniable. Championships across multiple teams, finals appearances that stretch across eras, records that might never be broken. The ability to adapt his game over time and still dominate at an elite level. That's not something you can dismiss. But here's where the tension comes in. For players like Isiah, greatness isn't just about numbers. It's about presence. It's about fear. It's about how opponents reacted when you stepped on the court. And that's something that's harder to measure. You can't put that into a stat sheet. You can't turn that into a highlight reel.
You know, they showing up the earliest 6 o'clock to a 7:30 game. When LeBron or Kobe came to arena, it's just them.
Yeah, right.
There's no one actually in the gym but you.
I mean, he was really kind of at the height of professionalism, going there so early and like,
That's what I'm saying. Like, did you ever go to the gym at 2 o'clock? No, the answer's no.
This is where it gets dangerous again, because once you start comparing eras, you're dealing with completely different versions of the game. Different rules, different styles, different levels of physicality. The NBA that Isiah played in is not the same NBA that LeBron dominates today. So when fans try to make direct comparisons, it often leads to arguments that don't have a clear answer. Here's the part nobody is talking about. Even legends themselves don't always agree on who the GOAT is. Some say Jordan, some say LeBron, some bring up other names entirely. And that's because greatness is subjective. It depends on what you value. Rings, longevity, skill, impact, different people prioritize different things. And that's why the debate never ends. But Isiah's frustration comes from how the debate is being handled. It's not the disagreement that bothers him, it's the lack of depth. The way fans reduce complex careers into simple arguments. The way they ignore context just to win a debate. This is where young players usually make a mistake again. They think greatness is something you can define with one metric, but it's not that simple. It's a combination of everything: talent, work ethic, impact, moments, and even then, it's still open to interpretation.
Look, I like LeBron, I'm a fan of his, so forth and so on. But to walk out on the floor before a game with no shirt on and shoot, I mean, come on, man, where we at?
Now, let's bring it back to the fans, because that's who Isiah really went at. LeBron fans are incredibly loyal, and they've had plenty of reasons to be. But sometimes that loyalty turns into something else. It turns into defensiveness. And when someone like Isiah challenges the narrative, it triggers a reaction. But here's the thing, debate is part of sports. It's what makes conversations interesting. The problem isn't that people argue. The problem is how they argue. When it becomes about tearing down other players instead of appreciating greatness, that's when the conversation loses value. This is where it gets dangerous, one more time. Because if the GOAT debate continues down this path, it might actually lose its meaning completely. Instead of being a discussion about greatness, it becomes background noise. And when that happens, even the legends start tuning out.
So, to mention the word unprofessionalism and him with a broad brush would be incredibly unfair. But if you're isolating an incident, which Isiah Thomas did, then it's more than fair.
Here's the part nobody is talking about. Isiah Thomas might actually be doing the debate a favor by calling it out, because sometimes it takes someone from outside the current narrative to point out what's wrong with it. And whether you agree with him or not, he's forcing people to think about how they approach the conversation. So what does this mean for LeBron's legacy? Honestly, nothing changes. LeBron is still one of the greatest players to ever touch a basketball. That's not up for debate. What Isiah is questioning is the way we talk about that greatness, the way we compare it, the way we try to rank it. And maybe that's the real takeaway here. Because at some point, you have to ask yourself, are we actually appreciating greatness, or are we just arguing about it? This is where young players usually make a mistake. One last time. They think the goal is to be called the GOAT, but the real goal is to leave a legacy that speaks for itself. The titles, the records, the moments, those are what matter. The debates will always come and go. And that brings us to the bigger picture. Because when you zoom out, the GOAT debate isn't just about Jordan or LeBron. It's about how we define greatness as fans. It's about what we value. It's about how we remember the game. And if that conversation becomes too toxic or too shallow, we risk losing something important. So when Isiah Thomas says the GOAT debate is a joke, maybe he's not saying it to disrespect LeBron. Maybe he's saying it because he thinks we can do better. But I'll leave you with this. If a legend like Isiah Thomas is calling out the entire conversation, does that mean LeBron fans are taking it too far? Or does it mean the GOAT debate itself has gone off the rails? Because at this point, it's not just about who the greatest is. It's about whether we even know how to recognize greatness anymore.